So for part 2 of this test, we're dealing with the Roman numerals and the bases. And on my sheet of the front of this test, I'm going to give you all the Roman numerals that you need. The first few problems ask us to convert from Roman numeral, or to write something as a Roman numeral, and that's probably the harder part. In order to do this, that's actually the easier part, isn't it? In order to do this, I'm going to take any number that's given, and I'm going to break it up into its hundreds part, its tens part, and its ones part, or thousands if it had thousands. And then I'm just going to go through and figure out what each value is from the table that's going to be given to you on the test that you don't have to have memorized. So the 400 part of this is a CD. The 90 part of this is an XC. And the 1 part of this is an I. So the answer to problem 15, the Roman numeral for 491 is going to be CD, XC, I. And that's all there is to do for that. That's a friendly problem. I'm going to do the same thing for number 2. So I'm going to rewrite this in its thousands, because there's 1,000, its hundreds, its 50s, its tens, which is 50s, and its ones. So now I go for each one of these. 1,000 is an M. 400 is a CD. 50 is an L. And 2 is a double I. The answer to problem 16, the Roman numeral representation for 1,452 is M, C, D, L, I. Last easy one, then we'll do the backwards ones. 953 is 900 plus 50 plus 3. 900 is CM. 50 is L, and 3 is III. 953 as a Roman numeral is going to be CML, III. And I'm checking my answers to make sure I'm not writing anything silly down as I'm doing these, which you should always be doing too. The next direction really is the more work one. And so in order to deal with the Roman numeral MCMXLVII, I'm going to, from my sheet of Roman numerals, pluck out all the ones that we need here. We need that the I is equal to 1, V is equal to 5, X is equal to 10. I'm just stealing from this chart. Actually, I stole it from here earlier and I messed up and redoing this. L is equal to 50. C is equal to 100. D is equal to 500. M is equal to 1,000. Those are the 7 basic Roman numerals. And then from this chart, I need anything that's representative of a 4 or a 9. IV is equal to 4. And, can't see it as you can, IX is equal to 9. XL is equal to 40. XC is equal to 90. CD is equal to 400. And CM is equal to 900. So when I go to write down this number, MCM, when I go to do 18, which is taking M, C, M, X, L, V, I look at this column first. First I see, is there an I preceded a V? That's a VI, not an IV. I don't have one of those. Is there an I before an X? Well, there's the only X. There's no I before it. Is there an X before an L? Yes. So I need to keep those together. Is there an X before a C? That C is the only C. There's no X before it. Is there a C before a D? No, there's no D. Is there a C before an M? Yes. So now I'm going to find values for everything that I have highlighted or unhighlighted. I'm going to find a value for the M, the CM, the XL, the V, the I, and the I. M is equal to 1,000. CM is equal to 900. XL is equal to 40. V is equal to 5. And each of the I's are equal to 1. And now I'm going to add up these numbers. So 1,000 plus 900 plus 40 plus 5 plus 1 plus 1. I think that's 1947. But my calculator won't let me down if I don't mess it up. 1,000 plus 900 plus 40 plus 5 plus 1 plus 1. The answer to problem 18, the Roman numeral that's given, is equal to 1947. For number 19, I'm going to use the same... Oh, I'm getting a mess here. Let me try to get organized real quickly. Number 19 wants me to take the Roman numeral CDLXXIV and write it as a Roman numeral. And so immediately I go to my list and I look for my 4s and my 9s. I ask myself, is there an I before a V? Yes, I'm going to keep those together. Is there an I before an X? Well, there's 2 X's, but there's no I's before them, so I'm not worried about it. Is there an X before an L? Well, there's an L, there's no X before it, I don't need to worry about it. Is there an X before a C? There's a C, there's no X before it, so I'm not worried about that. Is there a C before a D? Yes, there is. I need to keep those together. There's no M, so that's everything I need to contend with. And now I'm going to find values for each one of these. So I'm going to find a value for a CD, an L, an X, and an IV, all on this sheet now. CD is equal to 400. L is equal to 50. X is equal to 10. X is equal to 10. IV is equal to 4. I'm going to add these up. 400 plus 50 is 450. Plus 10 plus 10 plus 4. I think that adds up to 474. I don't think I need my calculator to do that. My answer for number 19, the Roman numeral that's given, is equal to 474. Problem 20 wants me to take the Roman numeral L, X, 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 IV, write it as a regular Hindu Arabic number. I look to see if there's an I before a V. There is, so I keep those together. There's not an I before an X. There's an LX, but not an X before an L. There's no C's, there's no D's, there's no M. So those are the only things I need to keep joined. And then I'm going to find a value for L, X, 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 and IV. L is equal to 50. Each of the X's is equal to 10. And the IV is equal to 4. And I just need to add these up. And I don't need my calculator to know that that's 84. But I could go 50 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 4. And get my answer of 84 for problem 20. So as a Roman numeral, problem 20 is equal to 84. 21 wants me to convert L, X, 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 IV. Boy, it feels like the same. This is exactly the same problem. Whoa, hold on. That was problem 20. Take that back. Problem 21 is not that. I had some stuff written on my sheet that I didn't like, so I was hiding that from you because I taught it a little bit differently this time. Now we're into bases. So I'm done with Roman numeral part of the review, onto the base part of the review. To do this version, to convert from a base into base 10, that's the easier way. That's just writing the number backwards and then multiplying by the powers of 5. So for problems 21, to write 214 base 5 as base 10, I'm going to write the number backwards. So I wrote 412, which is just writing the number backwards. And then next to each of the numbers, I multiply by 5 with an exponent. The first 5 I get an exponent of 1, and then I add 1 to the exponents. So I took the 4, the 1, and the 2, wrote it backwards, multiplied each by 5 because the base was 5. I start with an exponent of 0, and for each successive 5 I increment up by 1. And now I'm going to multiply. It's all something I can do in my calculator now. This is 4 times 5 to the 0, plus 1 times 5 to the 1, plus 2 times 5 squared, or 5 to the second power. 214 base 5 is equal to 59 base 10, and that's going to be the whole answer for 21. 22 wants me to take 103 base 4 and change it to base 10. I'm going to write the number backwards. I'm going to write a 3, a 0, and a 1. I'm going to multiply each by a 4. I'm going to give each of the 4s an exponent, starting at 0 and going up by 1 each time. And then I put plus signs between. So 103 base 4 can be turned into base 10 by doing this operation, which is 3 times 4 to the 0, plus 0 times 4 to the 1, plus 1 times 4 to the 2. The answer to problem 22, 103 base 4, is equal to 19. Last one of going the easy way, to change 54 base 6 into base 10, I write the number backwards. So I write it as 45. I multiply by 6 to the 0. I multiply by 6 to the 1. I put a plus sign between. Break out my calculator. 4 times 6 to the 0 plus 5 times 6 to the 1. And I get, for an answer, 34. The last 3 problems on the review are going the harder way, which isn't that hard. We're given a number in base 10, and we're asked to convert to another base that isn't base 10. In problem 24, I'm asked to convert to base 5, so I need to know the powers of 5 that are less than 122. 5 to the 0 is 1. 5 to the 1 is 5. 5 squared is 25. Need it. 5 cubed is 125. Don't need it. Once we knew all the powers that were less than the number that we're converting, we wrote those numbers down backwards. So we did a 25, a 5, and a 1. Wrote them in a nice box. And now I'm going to start the subtraction part to get my answer. First thing I'm going to do is take the 122, which is a given number, and start subtracting 25 until I get a number smaller than 25. So I'm going to do 122 minus 25 is going to give me 97. I'm going to subtract 25 again. It's going to give me 72. Still bigger than 25, so I can still subtract. Subtract 25 again, and I get 47. Still bigger than 25, so I can subtract 25 another time, and I get 22. Now I'm going to have the first number in my answer, which is going to be the number of times I was able to subtract 25 without getting less than 25. Part of my answer is going to have the number 4 in it for the 4 times that I could subtract 25. I'm going to carry my remainder of 22 over, and I'm going to start subtracting 5. 22 minus 5 is 17. I'm bigger than 5. I can still subtract. 17 minus 5 is 12. I'm bigger than 5. I can still subtract. 12 minus 5 is 7. I'm bigger than 5. I can still subtract. 7 minus 5 is 2. I'm smaller than 5. I'm done with this step. The number that's going to go in my answer is the number of times I subtracted 5. Again, it's another 4. So I got a 4 for the 4 times I subtracted 25, a 4 for the 4 times I subtracted 5. Carry my remainder over. Now I'm going to start subtracting 1 until I get down to 0. 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. I'm done subtracting. The last number that goes in my answer is a 2, other than I need to subscript the base to indicate I changed to base 5. So 122 is equal to 442 base 5. I get the 4s. There's 1, 2. The first 4 is the 4 times I subtracted 25. The second 4 is the 4 times I subtracted 5. And the 2 is the 2 times I subtracted 1. So the answer to that is going to be 442 base 5. Covering up things that I had written on here because I taught this a little bit differently this time through. So to convert 214 to base 4, I need powers of 4. 4 to the 0 is 1. 4 to the 1 is 4. 4 squared is 16. 4 cubed is 64. And 4 to the 4th is 256. Bigger than 214, don't need it. I'm going to write these powers of 4 down. I'm going to write 64, 16, 4, and 1. And now I'm going to start subtracting. I'm going to start with the number 214, which is my number, and I'm going to start subtracting 64 until I get to a number smaller than 64. So 214 minus 64 the first time gives me 150. Minus 64 the second time gives me 86, still bigger than 64, so I can still subtract. Minus 64 a third time gives me 22. I can't do another step because the number is less than 64. The first part of my answer to 25 is going to be the number 3 for the 3 times I could subtract 64. I'm going to carry my remainder of 22 over, and now I'm going to start subtracting 16. 22 minus 16 is 6. I can't subtract again because I'm less than 6. I was able to subtract 1 time. I put a 1 in my answer. I carry my remainder of 6 over, and I start subtracting 4. 6 minus 4 is 2. I'm less than 4, so I'm done. In my answer, I get a 1 for the 1 time that I could do the subtracting. I carry my remainder over. I go 2 minus 1 is 1. 1 minus 1 is 0. Last part of my answer is going to be the number 2 for the 2 times I can subtract, and the subscripted 4. So my answer is going to be 3112 base 4. I'm going to change problem 26 because I want to have one that has a 0 in it. I don't know if I can do this so well, so let me do, how about convert, oh gosh, 31 to base 3. So this should replace number 26. Because this one has a 0 in the answer, I want to make sure to do one of those. So let me look at this. 3 to the 0 is equal to 1. 3 to the 1 is equal to 3. 3 squared equals to 9. 3 cubed equals to 27. 3 to the 4th equals to 81. Too big. So all the powers of 3 that are less than 31 are 27, 9, 3, and 1. So first I found all the powers of the base I'm converting to that are less than the given number. Now I'm going to subtract. Take my number, first subtract 27. 31 minus 27 is 4. I'm less than 27. I'm done subtracting. The first number in my answer is going to be the number 1 for the 1 time I go to subtract. I bring my 4 over. I want to subtract 9. I can't subtract 9 because it's going to give me a negative. I cross that out, indicating I can't subtract that. I put a 0 in my answer for the number of times I was able to subtract 9. Take that remainder over to the 3 and see if I can subtract with it. Well, now I can't because 4 minus 3 is doable. 4 minus 3 is 1. I can't subtract anymore, but I was able to subtract 1 time. So in my answer, for the third number, I'm going to put a 1 for the 1 time I was able to subtract 3. I carry my remainder of 1 over. 1 minus 1 gives me 0. I'm to 0. I've used up all the powers of 3. I'm done, other than taking the number of times I did the subtracting here, 1, putting it in my answer along with the base. The answer to this new problem, converting 31 to base 3, is 1011 base 3. 1 subtraction, no subtraction, 1 subtraction, 1 subtraction. And then the last problem that last problem that I snuck onto this, and I'm not sure why it's here, but it is, and I don't think there's probably an error on your handout anymore. So a car, and this is really from the last section. I don't know how it got put on here, but I must have put it on a test at one point, and I didn't have it on the first part of the review, so I put it on this part of the review just in case it shows up on the test. A car is traveling at a speed of 40 miles per hour. What is the speed in kilometers per hour? That's just asking me to change from miles to kilometer because they both have per hour in common. I don't have to worry about that. I just need to convert 40 miles into kilometers. To do that, I'm going to multiply by a unit that has kilometers that I want to end up with in the numerator and miles that I want to get rid of in the denominator. And that unit is 1 mile is 1.6 kilometers. So I'm going to put a 1.6 next to the kilometer, a 1 next to the mile. I'm going to cancel out the miles. I'm going to multiply the 40 times the 1.6. And that's going to give me 64. The units are kilometers, but it's speed in per hour. So I'm going to say its speed is going to be 64 kilometers per hour. So I go through these practice tests maybe a little bit faster than you might like. But the idea is I was hoping you weren't watching me do every single problem, because the idea is this is supposed to be reviewed, so I go through it a little bit quicker. But if I went too fast, come and sit with me in my office and I'll work with you to get you through anything that you're not quite understanding. It's completely understandable if I went too fast for you, and I'm more than happy to sit with you and work with you.